This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Hillibee Creek. But before that, this video is brought to you by Squiggy486 and Alan McCone. Thank you for being farm barons. So Hillibee Creek can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Now let's read a little bit of the description. Welcome to Hillibee Creek, pronounced Hillibee. This is a world in its own where you are in charge of your own future. Starting in new farmer mode, you have to make your choice of being a farmer or a logger, and with minimal equipment, you can sell off the unused equipment of your undesirable path. That way you'll have more equipment for your desirable path. Whether you decide to become the best logger or farmer in the world, there is still plenty to do. This map includes a total of 35 fields, 5 of which you own in new farmer mode, numerous production setups. There is a train that circles the map for transport of logs and grain. You can then unload the grain from the train to a train transfer silo, transfer that grain to a train or to a trailer where you'll then have to transport it to the grain sell point in order to sell it. As far as selling logs from the train, there is a log sell point in a shed at the sawmill, and from there you're going to be able to automatically sell logs from the train. There is a custom cow pasture owned in new farmer mode with some cows. There is a custom lumber sell point located at the sawmill, and there is also a rather large quarry, stone quarry, down in the south, deep into the forest. Let's go ahead and load up the map. We are going to use the mods that we typically use when we take a look at maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. While the map loads on in, we can look at the log. In addition, if you load this map up in Farm Manager or start from scratch, you will start out with the main farm built out exactly how you see it here, except you do not own any land, nor do you own any machinery. And here we are, people, loaded into the map right here at the farmhouse, which happens to not have a sleep trigger, so you'll need to put one down for yourself. We have a PDA with a little bit of a legend. You are here. So looking at this, we have the animal dealer. We also have wood sell point. We have a grain sell point marked on this particular legend. We also have 2 grain storage points, a carpentry area, the stone quarry, and then the gas station. Now, conveniently, if you look at the PDA or the mini map down to the lower left, you're going to notice that the grain sell point does not have an icon on the PDA. You may also notice that, well, the grain storage is missing a few icons when you actually jump into the PDA. So here we are looking at the mini map, or the larger map. We have a grain silo, storage silo right here, as well as right here. But their corresponding icons are not actually going to show up until we buy the land. In addition, the same thing is going to be said over here about our grain sell point. Do not know why we don't have an icon here until we actually buy the land. Now, we do have all the standard crop types available to us here in Farm Sim 22. And if we take a look at the lands area, you see that we do start out by owning a decent amount of property. You start out by owning the main farm here, which includes 5 fields. And in addition to that, we have our plot up here, which includes the custom cow pasture. And then we have a little bit of forest that we also own at the start. All 3 of those modes are tied together. They can all be bought or sold for $146,000. Now, in addition, we start out by owning this plot here, which includes a sell point for $28,000. And then we have the sawmill for $26,000. We have a viable biogas plant for $8,684. We have a large greenhouse that is part of this set of property right here, which is $64,860. And then down here, if we happen to buy this plot of land, which includes all these fields and the transfer silo that's right here, there is going to be a small silo a seed or um, mineral feed silo that is also located right there. That is going to be a part of that particular purchase. Now let's go ahead and jump up here to the farmland lease screen before we go and buy any additional farmlands, just to demonstrate the triggers popping up on the PDA once we do that. This is what we start out with in new farmer mode. We have farmland 1, which includes fields 1 through 5, $146,000. We also have farmland 52 and 55, and those are the 2 points in town that we talked about. As far as available farmlands to buy, we're going to just go ahead and slowly scroll through this list. And this is going to show us a list of all of the farmlands, how big the farmlands are, if the farmlands include any fields, which fields they include, and then ultimately how much is the farmland going to cost us if we wish to buy it. Overall, I think the farmlands is fairly cheap on this particular map as a whole. If we take a look at our field calculator screen, you're going to see that overall we've got some fairly small fields on here. They are mostly 1.5 hectares or smaller. So we get down up here into the 30 numbers of the fields. We have 31, 33, and 35. Those are, in effect, the largest fields on the map. If we look at our crop counter, you will see that we do indeed have the standard crop counter available to us here in Farm Sim 22. And let's jump back up here to the precision farming screen and take a look and see what the soil map looks like on this particular map. Now, we can't see a whole lot from this particular soil map, but we are using the generic soil map that is a part of the precision farming mod. If we look at our prices screen, you will see that we do indeed have the ability to sell all of the base game crops that are available to us. And we have the GCHB grain elevator. That is the grain elevator whose icon does not appear unless you buy the land. I'm a little apprehensive as to if we can actually sell at the GCHB grain elevator without actually buying it, because of the fact that the trigger doesn't come up yet. If we take a look at our animals, we do have the ability to sell all of our animal outputs from eggs, wool, and milk. We also have sell points for silage, hay, straw, and grass, as well as wood chips. And then as we look down through all of the production areas, we do have the ability to sell all of the base game production that is available for us to produce in Farm Sim 22. Now, we do not have a bulk mime buy point, but that is not going to deter us with respect to our scoring. We do have a couple places to sell our stones. If we take a look at our starting equipment, we start out with a interesting choice in starting equipment. We've got some forestry. We also have some farming stuff. And some of the stuff, while it doesn't have any hours on it, it does need a fair bit of maintenance. None of it is leased. We do start out by owning 20 cows in the custom cow pasture. In addition to that, we have just a little bit of water and we have plenty of food in here, but we will want to add some more water and probably over time introduce total mixed rations as opposed to the grass and hay that we have in there already. This map does have contracts available to us. And as far as starting production chains, we do start out by owning the sawmill, so we will have the ability to produce planks and wood chips from our logs. This map does not include any collectibles at the start, and in fact, in the description, the map author says that he has plans to add collectibles, more productions, and traffic in the future. Let's go ahead and take a look at that starting equipment. We start out with the Buer 6105 tractor. We have the John Deere 7810 as well as then the 7R290 John Deere tractor. We have the John Deere T560 harvester that is paired up with the 625X grain header. Then as far as forestry machinery, we have the Rodney H21D tree harvester and the Rodney F20D forwarder in order to transport those logs. We start out with the Mahindra Retriever and the Lizard Pickup 1986 variety. We have the Half Pipe HP20 trailer. We have the Pottinger Servo 25 plow, as well as the Karat 12500 KUA cultivator. We have the HR 4040 power harrow, as well as the Venta 4030 seeder. And then we have the Lemken Azurit 9 planter. And then we're going to round it all out with the Kestla 144 ND log trailer. and that is our starting equipment. You will notice that we do not have any custom vehicles or machinery. That is a part of the map by looking at our mods and DLCs page. And with that, let's do a little bit of a farm tour. Now, as far as can you customize the farm? The answer is partially. Partially. This house is permanent. You cannot sell the house. It also does not include a sleep trigger. So if you want to use this as a farmhouse for sleeping, then you will need to place your own sleep trigger. If you want to maybe sleep somewhere else, well, that is also your choice because, again, we do not have a sleep trigger. Now, the farm silo is located right here. In addition, we do not have the ability to sell the farm silo. It is permanently placed right here on the map, but we do have our dump point and our fill pipe located right there. Now, we can sell this barn located right here, where we're going to find some of our starting machinery. So we can sell the shed here. We can sell the fuel tank that is behind it. Then we can also sell this shed located right here. In addition, we can sell all of the fences that run around the starting farm, as well as all of the gates that are around the starting farm. So really the only things that we cannot sell is the farmhouse and the silo. Everything else here at the starting farm we can indeed sell. Something to note over here on the other side of this fence is that we have a little bit of a water trigger located right here. Now that we're going to go ahead and get set up for the fly around. We're going to fly around the map, then come back to our shop, jump in our Mahindra, and do a little bit of a drive around and check some other areas out. Now, as far as the land goes, the farmland down here in the valley or the lowlands is fairly flat, if not completely flat. But the entire southern portion of the map, well, it's a bit mountainous, it's a bit hilly, and it is completely covered in forest. We do have a little bit of a forest here on the lower levels, but overall the bulk of the map is going to be, as far as forestry goes, is in the southern portion on the other side of the river. Now, we didn't buy yet these train transfer silos. I want to go ahead and do that now. That way you can kind of see how these triggers do pop up after you actually buy the land. So now that we actually own the land, you'll see that we don't just have the rent train icon, but we also have now the dump and fill points here for the train. And we come around the other side, we have our dump and fill points for the trailer. And these, remember, these triggers don't pop up. At least the icons don't pop up until you buy the land. Let's head down here to the south where we're going to take a look at the other train silo. And again, the only icon that is showing up there before we buy this land is the rent train icon. As I said earlier, we've got a little silo located here that is a part of this big section of land. And that silo can be used to store seed or mineral feed. Here we have the second transfer silo. So we have our dump point for our trailer, our fill point for our trailer, and then our dump and fill point for the train itself. Now, in addition, down here, we do have a little bit of a river crossing that we could take in order to get over here to the southern mountainous part of the map. But once we get over here, well, the terrain starts to get pretty rough fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and grab a little bit of altitude here and make our way to where the stone quarry is located. I think the stone quarry is a rather interesting feature of the map. Let's say that you've got, I don't know, a mod that you like to use that has a stone input. Maybe it outputs something that generates a decent amount of money. Well, you could buy the quarry down here and just shovel in and feed your production cycles plenty of stones and then make up a nice little chunk of cash. So here we have a nice little collection of stone that we're going to be able to scoop up with anything and then, well, do whatever you really want to as far as that goes. Now, the forest is pretty interesting. It's not a super dense forest. We've got various areas here where you can see that we've had maybe some structured forestry going on, and then we've replanted our trees. So it's kind of an interesting aspect where we've got different tree densities, different tree types, different tree sizes in various areas down here. We have a really nice series of cutbacks to get down to the lower level. Right there. And then from this point, we have an area over here that is kind of set up to load the train with logs. So we've got kind of a log buck here where we can just store logs. We have the rent train icon. Then we have a ramp located right here to make loading onto the trains a bit easier. In fact, here comes the train right now. So let's go ahead and see how that works. We've got a wheel loader here after the platinum expansion. And then we can just stop the train and load up the log cars from right here. We got 2 log cars. And we're going to continue down this road, and this is going to take us right to the little bit of forestry that we own at the start. And this is where we have our forestry equipment pre-staged. So if we're going to do forestry, well, this is where we're going to be starting out. We can sell all of the farm machinery and buildings over at the starting farm on the western side of the map. If we want to do farming on the map, well, then we could come over here and sell off our tree harvester, our forwarder, our log trailer, and then have a little bit of extra money in our bank account for the purpose of buying additional land or additional machinery. Now over to our left, we have our sawmill for the purpose of producing planks and selling logs. Directly ahead of us, we have another log sell point, and you see the train, you see the shed that the train is about to drive through. That is where there is a log sell point. So if we had any logs on the train at this point, they would have automatically sold as the train drives through there. This large building right here is the grain sell point. And again, this has to be owned for that blue floaty icon to show up. Will this work to sell grain without owning it? I don't know. But if you come here and try to sell grain and you're not able to, you just might need to buy this little bit of land before you'll be able to actually sell, at least how the map is configured in its initial release. And as we come over here to town, we're going to have some sell points. We're going to have a couple production points, including the biogas plant. And the biogas plant is not your everyday biogas plant. It's got a little something special. And we'll take a look at that here in a moment. And down here between fields 33 and 34, if we buy this, there is also a fuel storage tank down here, as well as this large shed. Right, so this is another area that you could buy. You've got some machinery storage, maybe bale storage down here. We have our carpentry facility located right here. No triggers are going to show up until we buy the carpentry. So let's just go ahead and get that done. We're going to be able to buy the carpentry for $9,896. And once we buy it, you can see the triggers do indeed pop up. We have our shop trigger right here, but our maintenance trigger is actually located over there where you would think the shop would be located. So we have our fuel point, our animal dealer, our shop maintenance trigger, our stone crusher. We have 2 sell points located right here at the diner and the grocery. We also have a sell point located right here, Johnson's Farmers Market. This piece of land is owned also at the start. And then directly behind us, we have the biogas plant. And we do need to buy the biogas plant before we can do anything with it. Let me go ahead and buy that. And then I'll show you how special this particular biogas plant is. And now that we own it, let's go ahead and manage it. And you're going to see that this biogas plant is able to do a whole lot of things. So it's going to accept grass, potatoes, silage, slurry, manure, sugar beet cut, canola, sunflowers, corn, and wood chips. And it's going to output digestate, diesel, and DEF fluid. So if we give it grass, we're going to get a little bit of energy. We're going to get a little bit of methane. We're also going to get some digestate, fuel, and DEF. If we give it potatoes, again, we're going to get energy, methane, digestate, fuel, and DEF. Silage, we're going to get energy, methane, and digestate. Slurry, we're going to get energy, methane, and digestate, as well as manure and sugar beet cut. If we give it canola, we're going to get energy, a lot of energy. We're going to get some methane, some digestate, decent amount of diesel fuel, and a little bit of DEF. Same with our sunflowers, but we're going to get less energy from our sunflowers, methane, digestate, fuel, and then DEF as well. And corn, we're going to get energy, methane, digestate, fuel, and DEF. If we give it wood chips, we're going to get, guess what? Energy, methane, digestate, fuel, and DEF. So that is kind of an interesting biogas plant. We're going to have our dump point for our slurry. We're going to have our digester. Then we're going to have our liquid pickup right there. Now, in addition, we also have a large greenhouse on the map. In total, we have 4 production things built in. We have the large greenhouse, we have the sawmill, we have the carpentry, and the biofuel, aka the BGA. So we do have the large greenhouse. Again, we are going to have to buy the land in order to make use of the greenhouse. So for $64,000, now we have our triggers in order to make use of the greenhouse. Right next to that, we do have our custom cow pasture. And farm manager will start from scratch. The cow pasture does not exist. So this is only available in new farmer mode, but we do have the ability to place it should we so wish. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at our build mode. We do not have any custom sheds that are part of the map, nor do we have custom silos. Silos are extensions. And we do have some listings for custom containers, but these are basically the standard base game containers that are just pre-placed on the map. And then we don't have any custom tools or farmhouses. As far as production goes, we do have the ability to put down our custom biofuel production if we want to put down another, or we can put down our carpentry facility, but it is the same as the base game carpentry. No custom sell points. We do have then the modded greenhouse, which really is coming up. It's the same as a base game greenhouse. Orchards, generators. We have our standard open cow pasture located right here, base game, 15 cows, and then we have our custom 25 cow larger pasture located right there that we can put down. Our base game, rest of our animals, nothing custom there. And as far as decoration, that is all standard. And if we take a look at our paintable textures, let's go ahead and put a couple of those down. Overall, they are fairly standard FS22 textures. So we have our granite, we have our rock, our stone, we have forest ground, we have grass, we have dirt, then we have asphalt, animal mud, and then concrete. And that is going to pretty much do us for the aerial fly around. Let's head back over here to the farm shop. We get our Mahindra, and we'll do a little bit of a drive. So we've got a little bit of an area here for our vehicles to spawn in at. It's not super huge, but again, we do not have any sort of fence or anything else blocking our access. So we should have pretty easy time in buying even some large machinery and getting it outside of the shop area. Right across from the shop, we have our fuel. And then just west of the shop, we have our animal dealer. Located right there. Also right by the shop, we talked about having our carpentry facility. Again, we have to buy the carpentry before any of these triggers will show up. We have our interactive icon at the front door. We have our log sell point and our log sell trigger right there. And then around the back, we have our pallet point for our furniture. If we wish to customize, sell, trade, paint, or repair our vehicles, we're going to have to come here to Armand Moteurs, and we're going to have to use the shop trigger, which is going to be located right there. And the actual trigger itself is right here where the Load King trailer is placed and where these two doors are. We don't have those markers on the ground. As you can see, the trailer is indeed in that area. Now, I don't remember the semi being part of our starting machinery. Do you? No, it's not listed here at all. But we can make use of it, as well as making use of the Load King. Again, neither are listed in our starting machinery. Right across from there, we have our stone crusher. Our biogas plant, which we already talked about. We talked about the greenhouse as well as the cow pasture. We have a sell point here at the diner, and then also sell point here at the grocery. Here we have a universal sell all sell point located right here. Sell all products. Grain around front, and then various other products around back. just going to take a quick shortcut. Then our sawmill is going to be located over here to the right. And from within the sawmill, we have the ability to sell our logs, as well as produce planks. So we have our interactive icon here for our sawmill. We have our wood sell trigger right there, as well as our dump point for our wood. We have our pallet spawn point for our planks, and then our spawn point for our wood chips. Over here we have another log sell point, and while we have a trigger marker here for the wood sell, you'll see it doesn't come up at all when we walk over here to it. So I don't know if this particular area will just automatically sell logs, or if maybe the sell wood trigger is broken. Something you might want to check out if you are playing this map. We also have a fuel storage here at the sawmill, and a decent amount of space here where you can put other production points down. Remember, we own this land at the start. Now, real quick, we're going to come over here to the other wood sell point, and we have a rent train trigger at the shed there at the little steel building. And then right here, right in the middle of this shed, there is a trigger in order to sell wood. So as the train comes through here, any logs that basically cross this point right here will automatically sell. Then just one more time, we're going to reference this grain area. This is a grain sell point. As the sign says, sell grain produce here. But you may or may not have to actually buy this facility in order to do the selling. The dump trigger appears, but this little floaty unload icon does not appear unless you own the land. I want to loop up here and over to the train silo that is over here on the train line. Alright, kids, don't drive on the train tracks. It's not safe. I am a trained professional, and therefore I am willing to accept said risks. You can see how flat the northern part of the map is up here, where we have the farming set up. We could buy this forest here, kind of clear it out, and put in additional farmland. So if we do transport grain on the train, in order to sell the grain, because our only sell points are in town, not along the train line, we would have to unload at this silo or the next one that we're going to visit, and then put it onto a trailer from here, and then transport it into town. Now, if for whatever reason we are going to be doing the reverse of that, we're going to want to dump it from the trailer into the building, and then rent a train, park it right there off in the distance and then unload into our train silos, our train cars. Sneak through this little nature reserve area. Let's see, what does the sign say again? The sign calls this the state forest. Here we have Hillibee Farms with the starting farm over here to our right. Pardon me, I missed my road. We'll just sneak through here. Here we have a little bit of a placeable pad, and we have that little silo. Again, that's going to be for seed or mineral feed. Oh yeah. Completely unedited. Trying to get down here to this other train silo. So here we have our fill point for our trailers. We have our dump point for our trailers. Then we have our train area right there. We have a train trigger. And we can go to the forest part of the map right through here. And at this point we have to find our way up the hilly side of the forest. But I'm going to go back and make my way up the not so hilly side. We are just going to run along the river here. So I think the map has some really interesting design features here. The idea that we have either, you can start either forestry, you can start farming, you basically start owning enough stuff to do either or, but really not enough stuff to really go hog wild with profits with either or. But here we have one of those areas that I mentioned where you can transfer logs to the train. Got a couple of log bucks for storing our logs. Log racks, whatever you want to call them. We have our rent train trigger. And there are a couple of different ways to get up. We're just going to go ahead and take this one, since we've already talked about all the other triggers over there. So if you want to do forestry, then you can sell the farm machinery. You already start out with a tree harvester and a couple other ways of transporting logs. You can transport logs to the sawmill where you make planks, or you can just transport logs to the log sell point. You can put them on the train and then sell them automatically there as well. Luckily, I was privileged enough, I feel, to do a first look on this map a few weeks ago. And one way that I theorized you could play was you could just come up here and buy a little section of this mountainous area and kind of do a pioneer series. You just come up here with a truck and chainsaw and just start clearing out your land, make your go of it, make your fields up here, and kind of do some rustic farming up here on top of the mountain. So lots of different ways to potentially play and enjoy the game on this particular map. Now we're going to make our way. Now we found this trail, because this trail should take us over to the stone quarry. How about this trail right here? Will take us over to the stone quarry. So let's talk about our scoring. We are going to give the map a full point with respect to having production built in. It has 4 unique production items built in. There are areas where you could also put additional production areas without really imposing on the fields that are built into the map. We are going to give the map a full point with respect to having the ability to sell all of your base game crops, products, and animal outputs. So here we have our stone quarry. We are going to give the map a half a point with respect to can the farms be customized, because we do not have the ability to sell the house, nor do we have the ability to sell the silo that is at the main farm, but we do have the ability to sell the other 2 sheds as well as all the fences and gates. Where appropriate, is the map using new texturing technique? Yes, it is, for both ground textures and building textures. Now, while the buildings are basically FS22 base game buildings, they are using the new textures. We do have some ground textures that we can paint down that are also using that, so we are going to give the map a full point there. And with respect to player trigger and interactive areas being clearly marked, well, we are going to take off a little bit of points because of the fact that the silos, the transfer silos that I call them, where you transfer product from trailer to train and train to trailer, well, those icons don't show up until you buy the silos. And I don't think you should have to buy the silos for those icons to show up. I'm also a little skeptical and cautious with respect to the grain sell point and the fact that the grain unload trigger doesn't show up, the floaty blue icon doesn't show up until you buy that particular piece of property. So we are going to give the map just 3/4 of a point there. So overall, the map is going to score 4.25 out of 5. Still a very respectable score. Still a very respectable score. Let me know what you all think down in the comments below for Hillibee Creek. Is this a map you were going to do some farming on? Is this a map you're going to do some forestry on? Maybe you're going to set this kind of aside and just wait until the Platinum expansion comes out, where we have some of that new forestry machinery available to us, and maybe give it a go then. And until next time, happy farming.